Alright, hello. Welcome back. This is going to be podcast number 3 of the Lasera podcast. This one will be over the machines of the Lasera world, or Uinnty. I did want to do a full cover of what I have for the machines so far. I don't think I really care if there is spoilers for any of them, so other than that, I think we are good with proceeding. Let me just pull up my other one. I pulled up one of them, but yes, okay. Yeah. Alright, so first I wanted to talk about some of the things that, well, first I actually want to just start off with one machine that I started from yesterday, which was one of the ramages. So as I said, the ramages were supposed to be designed robots, or machines. Well, I'll call them machines from now on, but they're supposed to be designed machines that have 2 wheels, like back and front, and then they're supposed to, in the middle or from the bottom, I haven't decided yet, they're supposed to have like these areas where basically like 3 limbs from each side will come out and basically support the machine and can basically lift it up off of the ground, and then it can basically churn a lot faster and then walk around. But the only problem with that is that it leaves the underside very vulnerable, whereas the rest of it usually has a lot of armor. Although you can get through the armor, it's a lot easier if you went from underneath rather than it. The other thing I didn't mention was that it also has a big drill in the very center of the bottom, or slightly back. I'll get to that, but yes, it is also basically the drill churns, or it comes out and extrudes from the bottom and then basically splits into like 4 other tiny drills that go and dig even more, I guess, if that makes any sense. Let me explain that again. So it's sort of like a chandelier, so where it's like the stem of it, and then it kind of splits out into several parts. I also am not including video into this. I'm sorry. I will try my best next video to actually get a video. So, but yeah, the thing is also usually most of the steam and the cogs and all of that are also located underneath, and this usually creates the reason why it's sort of a problem underneath. And yeah, there's not a whole lot about there. The other thing I do want to say though about it is that it is like some of these, they are basically like robots, like nowadays robots, where they have only the function that we give them, and they don't have the capability of emotion or feelings or talk. Well, I mean, this one really can't talk, or I don't want it to, but basically it has like a camera or something on top where it basically senses out where it needs to go. And so yeah, so it does have a semi-intellectual mind, so that it has some idea of what it's doing without having somebody. The other thing I want to say is that it has no form of magic on it. So in this, I will say that if it has a magic crystals or whatnot, and what's the size of them, and usually that I don't have a name for magic crystals or whatnot in this world, so I'm just going to call them magic crystals, even though they basically allow the robot to perform certain spells or magic based on what that crystal is, or who gave it that, or sort of aspects like, okay, let's just, like a wizard cast a spell saying it can use only fire damage or something like that, and basically it would obtain that. Or if it had like a shield or something, like how far it would be. And I don't know, it basically is, the magic is basically predetermined by the code, I guess, quote unquote, inside the crystal. I guess I'll move on to the second machine I have. It's called the Jaunts. These are machines designed to be like flying drones. They are similar to a plane with wings that flap, so like a bird, but they look sleek like a plane. They have engines on the back top of the machine. They actually have a personality and were originally designed by the mages of the world to aid and be that of a familiar. These also have some cogs work shown near the back due to the amount of cog work and steam working towards the back. So these ones have a very small amount of magic, but basically they were intended to be made by magicians or mages during that time to basically act as a familiar, so basically something like a companion, where it kind of aids with some things, sort of aspects of their lives. What else? It's really small, so it's about probably, so it's sort of like the size of like a big falcon or something like that, a big eagle. So it can still rest on like a shoulder or something, but you would have to be like really strong to hold it still. So, but it is possible, and it often, to the mages, usually they'll have magic to actually lighten its load, so that whenever it rests on their shoulders or wherever it likes, then usually it will just make it easier and less heavy. The other thing I talked about is the engines on it. Basically, it's going to be like a jet thruster, but designed in a steampunk way. So that basically it can move a lot faster. It can move normally, like with the flaps or its wings, but its engine just kind of helps it move a lot faster. It has no form of communication, so it can't actually talk, but it can make noises and sounds, much like a machine, but like a steamy kind of sound is what I'm having in mind. Most of its cog work, as I said, is in the back, and basically it can't have armor or really anything back there in order to keep its design as well as its overall, what do you say? I said design and like its functions. So basically it wouldn't be able to move around steam, or it wouldn't be able to flap around as easily. Yeah, they don't really do much other than that. They're not really made with tools. They will have some sort of like grabbing mechanism, so like a beak or just some like slot or something to actually like carry like letters or something, or packages for whenever the mages need. But other than that, yeah, there's not much else. So I'll go on to the next one. The next one is called the Teak. It's a medium-sized machine designed to carve or break a path. They are very point machines, so basically it's designed to have like a rectangular shape, is what I'm thinking of so far, and then it basically has like a triangle prism on the front, so, or at least close to a very strict point, but I haven't decided. And the other thing, though, I have in mind for it is, instead of that, I want it to also have like a centaur kind of idea, where it basically has like an upper body or at least some limbs in front, so that it can like change out its tools if need be. Which I do like. It basically will pull from the front and then grab from like inside itself. Yeah, usually they will move like trains, I want to say. I don't like the idea of like treads for them, because they are heavy and they don't have any form of crystal or magic in them. So they're going to only be designed to go horizontal. They can't go vertical in any way. So I'm thinking something similar to that, either that or some sort of legs. I haven't decided on how it's going to move yet, but other than that, it does have some. It has slightly less functionality than the Ramages, but it can move autonomously by itself if need be. These would often be used to basically like bore, so it would be like a big drill designed to basically like carve out tunnels and caves for whenever people require it. Yeah, not much I can say about that. We're going to the next one. The next one is called the Cyatun. A machine designed, it's a tiny machine that dispenses coolant or other forms of liquid and gas. This is often a machine used for building projects or cleaning the cities. They are very efficient and can easily dispense coolant from any size machines, or to any size machine. Oftentimes would attach themselves to other machines to more effectively cool down a machine. This is another machine capable of emotions and higher form of communication. These have the natural state of a tiny humanoid robot that also can easily transform into what looks like a cannon. These cannons often have storages with the on the sides of its shell. So, what I mean by, let's say, coolant is like sort of like a steam or like a liquid where it'll basically like dispense onto hot areas of other machines. And it'll just basically cool down a machine so that it doesn't overheat and bend or burn metal and melt it. Yeah, they're usually used only for aiding other robots. What else? They don't have any form of magic as well, so they don't have any sort of crystal. They will actually have communication, so they can actually communicate with people, so they actually like know languages and things. So they're sort of like a pet, but like a humanoid pet, if that makes sense. Sort of like it basically has its own thoughts and opinions and other things, and it can talk, but it would rather be like an aiding robot rather than, something normal. As I said, the part where I was talking about its tiny, it being in its natural state, basically, it can basically change into a different form. But its natural state will be like this tiny robot with two lengthy arms. But then it would be able to change into some sort of like cannon. I was thinking of some sort of like syringe or something, but I don't want to misguide how or what I mean by that. So I stuck with the idea of like a cannon. And then what I mean by the like storage of liquid or gas is basically it would either have like this huge bubble on the back of the cannon or like to the sides, or what I was thinking by whenever I said the sides of the shell is basically it would be like in between the armor plates, and then on the very, very inside it would actually have cogs and other forms of steam and, there's not much else about that. I don't want to go into history about any of these machines, but the next one is called the Ryotun. It's a big, medium-sized machine designed for the purpose of a war machine. They were complex machines that didn't show emotion, but were rather built around the idea of immobility. So basically, it wouldn't move, and it was designed for heavy weaponry to be mounted without slight movements from firing. These would often be built on wheels with bumps to create friction, and what I mean by bumps is like cleats, and like they have like those like rectangles, I guess, quote unquote, that would stick into the ground a lot better. These then would also have an anchor like contraption, which would basically plunge itself into the ground and then spread out, which would then act like a hook. So then it would like pull up on the dirt so it wouldn't, move as well. And then what I was thinking is on the sides of the wheels, it would also have something similar that would also not move it. This one actually is made with crystals. This is usually to make it heavier and to also make it move slightly faster. But yeah, there's I guess I'll say what I mean by some of this ideas. What I mean by mobility and its heavy weaponry is that it's meant to be like an artillery. It's not meant to be something that's moving or something. It's supposed to be designed for many different types of certain artillery or something similar to that, where it's basically a heavy cannon, something that just fires huge, massive guns. And they're more of the background warlike machines. What else? Yeah, they don't have a whole lot of higher thought or intellect. So, that's about it for this one. What I mean by wheels as well is that it's basically going to be like you know those rollers, like steam rollers, something like that, where basically just two in the front and back, and then two in the front and back, and then it would be more like a rectangle, I guess, sort of shape on top of that. But other than that, that's about it. The next one is called the Amberox. These were often the normal types of machines on the battlefields and served several purposes. These machines were smaller, medium-sized machines. These would also have wings, as well as interchangeable parts. These parts would often be small drills, weaponry, shields, as well as smaller magic crystals that would regenerate in some form. These would use their wings to not fly, but as a shield and preparation for its tools. So it is smaller than the Riotons, but they are the actual things that will move forward. And what I mean by its wings is that basically it will have wings, but they're not used to be fly. So it's kind of weird in the way it basically looks like wings. And it basically implants them in front of it. And then basically what I mean by its preparation for its tools is that basically it would be able to like open slots within its wings to actually like fire or shoot, while also granting it protection from enemy fire. What I mean by interchangeable parts is that they're not all just going to be one design. Most, like all of these machines, they'll actually have several different variations and previous iterations of the machines, but so far I'm just talking about the most notable ones, whether that be the most present ones or the most interesting ones. Doesn't matter. So, what I mean by it's also, wait, hang on, I was talking about the wings and then the tool, oh yeah, the interchangeable parts. So as I said, it was going to have some sort of like limbs or arms, or it would be built into it, and it would basically have weaponry or something. So if it had two limbs, for example, it would have like a drill in one and then a gun in the other, and that's all it could have. It couldn't have any more than that unless it was brought back, and it could change, but that would have to be like taken apart. The other thing is its magic. It does have some form of magic, very slight as well, but it does regenerate over time. It's actually one of the only ones that generates over time, but basically it's used as shields. It can move faster. It can do several things. I haven't decided all of them, but so far, yeah. It has it has about the same sort of intellect as the Riotons. They aren't as heavy. They're more like a, They're more from like 60 pounds, I would say, to like 100, I guess. Yeah, it's about as best I can describe them. Then the next machines we have are called the quiverals. These were often the machines to protect huge large structures, most importantly cities. These were machines designed to look like city walls, but would rather only fit in the walls. This would also often take the form of a structure or obelisk that would seem much like any other and work day and night. These would never be equipped with any form of magic, but would often be the structure maintained by itself. These would be the last resort, as this would be the last line of defense for any major area or like it's protecting. They would never move due to its weight, but rather have several forms of weaponry which would eject through openings, and it would be one of the strongest machines ever made. So, first I want to go into its protection and how it basically fits into like the city walls. So it does look like a structure, and so it basically is like just a giant building, but it has a machine. So it does have some sort of intellect all by itself, while also being just one single machine. But yeah, they were designed to basically have several openings and things, but it wouldn't be able to move or rotate or anything like that. They wouldn't be equipped with any form of magic, but would rather be aided by magicians. The other idea that I was thinking is that wizards, or like the highest wizards or protectors of the cities or major areas, would I was thinking of maintaining them, but I changed that idea into now they will basically aid it whenever it needs, and so they are sort of like a maintaining. What else? Form of magic. Last resort. Usually, I guess these would have probably less than the Amberox and the Ryoton's intellect. They were only just designed to be like that, I guess, and then they would only be activated and turned off. I was thinking of maybe an automated system, so where it would see if it was enemies, but then that's kind of hard because you can't really tell what is an enemy unless it was entirely different from like humans. So that's the thing. And then you would also have to tell like where its area. I'll figure it out. Yeah, these would be several tons of weight, and yeah, they would look like any other building within a city. As I said, they also work day and night, and what I mean by that is that they would act. So if some person from the outside saw the structure and thought maybe for some reason that could be it, at Quiverall, they would easily be able to, or it wouldn't be as easy to tell because they come in several different forms, while also seeming like another thing. So basically it would have like lights on, or it would have steam coming out of it, or it would do things that just every other different types of structure, so it would like act like a factory or something like that, or it would seem like a factory. There's not much I can say other than that. So the next one is called the Gaggles. These were tiny machines that would work as a hive. These were machines that would be used for multiple purposes and could link to make forms pre-designed by its creator. They were often very rare, as it was one of the most difficult workings due to its size and several configurations and uses. They could make very complex structures as well as most of the fauna machines. So this one's sort of short, but it's also big as well. So first off, I want to say how its tiny machines act like a hive. So basically, it will work towards one machine. There will be one machine that it works towards, and it will be the hive mind. And usually this is whatever the creator has. It would come in the form of like a backpack or something similar, and it would be like these tiny little robots, probably like half an inch, probably an inch, I would say. Excuse me. And yeah, they would basically, what I was saying is by linking, is they would sort of, you know, combine, I guess, and make something bigger while also maintaining their own individual things. So, and also I didn't want to make them very different in the way that you could just kind of use them to make every other type of machine. So that's why I said it has so many forms that were pre-designed by its creator, and the better the creator, the more different things it could do. But these actually would be equipped with tiny, very, very tiny amounts of magic, but, you know, if combined, then they could make a better use of magic, so basically it could turn into, like, a bird, or, you know, it could even create something, pretty massive. I wouldn't say as far as the quiveralls, but, just because of how hard it is to make them, and then how rare, just in general, so I want these to be very rare. In fact, that it would just be very hard to know exactly how to make them, and then to get the resources to know how to make them. In which case, most people don't know how or what is going on within these tiny things if they ever did see them, so it would be very hard to actually make them themselves, even if they did see them. Yeah, these would not have really complex thought at all. They would all be basically programmed by the hive mind, which would be like a controller. I was also thinking of automated system, but I don't know. I like the idea of a controller rather than an automated system. But, yeah. Last one that I am going to mention, and then some ideas that I have for some new ones. It's called the Wimbrels. These would be the strongest machines to be used. These would often look like spiders and be used to deploy several types of war devices. They would be about the same size or twice the size of quiveralls. They would be buried, or they can flatten themselves. They could work in any form of terrain. They can go vertical or horizontal, and they have some semi-level of thought and function, much like the Amberox and the Ryotons. And most is not known about them, other than what people believe this is, because this is all speculation on what they were used for. So, it is also one of the biggest machines, like I said, so it is up there in like top 10, top 20, something like that. As I said, they look like spiders. I haven't come up exactly with their design because this is the newest one that I've made, but I said that they can flatten out, so basically think of just like a flat like floor, just with the legs on the bottom. That's what I was thinking. And then like with a cover on top of the floor, but I know I'm not going to keep that. So it's going to be, it still will work like I say it is in this, so it can flatten and it will bury itself, but it will be quite interesting in the way I take it. But the other thing, I said terrain, so it can change like its bottom limbs to actually morph into other things. I was thinking it should have some, like a medium level of magic on it, but either that or no magic, somewhere around that, because as you can see there is a pattern into some of this where I do make the big machines not have it, just because they are very powerful, that they should only be used for those rather than, you know, magic or something, because it just makes them kind of overpowered, I guess. So I don't want to do that. The other thing is that they are ancient machines, so they were used in the past, but now they aren't as used because not many people can anymore. they kind of take on more of a peaceful life rather than war and crime and what people used to live in this world. Other than that, excuse me. Yeah, I had 3 different machine ideas that I was coming up with, which is, I'll just read out, it's like a sentence each. Machines used for flying troops and then phasing, tiny machines designed to corrupt, and machines used as deployable pieces like armor or clothes. So what I mean by the flying troops phasing is that it would be a bird or something. It would be a flying machine that would actually attack, or in some way. It wouldn't actually like move around infantry or anything like that. Although I was thinking of something as well as that, but I'm thinking otherwise. But yeah, they would probably be a little bit to the medium to large scale. I'm thinking more large scale. That's about all I have for them. Tiny machines designed to corrupt. What I mean by that is there would be, I don't want to say like the goggles, or the goggles, but would rather be like bigger than that, and then they would basically make things cybernetic, so it would be like half and half, and then it would basically make something like some of the creatures in here churn bad or churn good or do whatever it wants with it, or find out needs of the computer. So it could be like a virus, it could also be like disease, or it could be like a parasite. Then the last one is machines used as deployable pieces like armor of clothes. So basically it would be like a machine that is a sort of sentient, so it does understand communication things, but then it would also be like a familiar, and it would be like with somebody else, and it would just once whatever they need. So basically if they needed like a cloak or something, or a disguise, that it could easily make something up. So it is sort of like a goggle, but it is one machine rather than multiple tiny ones. And yeah, there's not much else. I know this one is pretty short, or shorter than I thought it was going to be, but yeah, I still wish I had a better way of representing and talking, so that I could explain these ideas so much better, and that I could show exactly what I mean and how much I'm thinking about these small things, because there are several things that I want to talk about in the way of every single one of these machines, and that where they come from and what they're designed for and who they were designed by, and what their purpose is, why they're designed the way they are, several things like that. I want to show also that it isn't designed only for certain things. Like, I don't want to just say drills or something like that. I want to say things, I don't know. And then I keep saying and things, and it's just other than that, I am very thankful for anyone who is watching these. As I said, anyone, I'm willing to hear out anybody if you want to help. And then subtitles as well, so if you want to write whatever I'm saying, so that other people can understand it better, rather than it being auto-generated. And then, yeah, I'm just very thankful for anybody who's watching these. So, I guess this is it, so, alright, bye.